Good to see you too. How you doing?
Yeah, we're still kicking here in the city of St. Paul, which is kind of exciting. You
Yes, we
too,
are.
I see. We were just talking about Elaine's lack of haircut. That's not a problem that you and Darren seem to have.
No, I learned early on that it was just cheaper and easier to cut it myself. So,
Nice. Well, I was telling Elaine that my 11-year-old daughter cut my hair the last couple
very
months. And
nice.
I'm like, why didn't I let you do this sooner?
Hey, there
I
you
look
go.
great. And for a Zoom meeting, I mean, you don't care. You can't tell. Perfect. So it's perfect. Here comes Chelsea. All right, so we've got folks coming on. That's great. I'm going to get our agenda up here. See if I can do that. Okay.
Paris, are you able to give me screen sharing capabilities?
Hi, Chelsea. Yeah, Darren could do that.
Okay, awesome.
Darren's working in the box today.
When I click on it, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah.
How do I do that without making you a host? Is there a way?
Can you make me a co-host?
Yeah, it's not in the drop down. Paris just made me the host, but I don't see a co-host option. I can make you the host.
I guess as long as you can do it maybe before I speak, and then I can give it back.
Yeah, just give me this is pretty informal. Just say, hey,
yeah,
make me the host, Darren.
Sounds good.
That's great.
Thank you.
So,
thank you when I do it.
I'm going to try to. I'll share my screen here in a second too. But you can check out everybody. Take a look at what we've got in the chat here. So open up the chat function. We're going to do things as we usually do, with chat going. And Darren, if you'll start our recording, that'd be great. Hey, there's Tyson. Hi, Tyson. Welcome back to the show. And Kayla. Hi, Kayla. I always look forward to seeing the cheery artwork on the back of the wall there that Kayla's got going on. Tyson, I haven't become as acquainted with your art yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Whatever that is, back there in your kitchen or office or wherever you are. Ross is kind of reclining on the couch. We've got all kinds of good settings covered. There's Ann DeJoy. Thanks for coming to the show, Ann. Hi, welcome to the party. And we got Rick chiming in and Chelsea. And we'll have a couple other folks join us. There's Ryan. Hey, Ryan, from Tongue in Cheek. Glad that you're here. We'll do some introductions in general, without just me kind of waving to my friends as you show up. We'll kind of do what we usually do for introductions, but to give you an idea of where we're going today, I've dropped the agenda in the chat. So open up your chat feature. Darren Varley from DV Creative, who's on the call today, Darren's giving you a big wave, is going to help me watch the chat as well as help watch the waiting room so that we get people admitted a little faster this time. I don't know, it's just seeing all of your beautiful faces. It dazzles me every time, and I stop watching the chat. I don't know. This Zoom thing causes you to multitask continuously. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, we could all probably have an entire meeting on how you feel about Zoom, couldn't we? Okay, we're not going there. So, welcome to the show today. Glad to have you on. Go ahead and turn on your camera and turn on the chat. I've got the agenda up in the chat for you there. We're gonna do some introductions here in the first couple minutes. Talk a little bit about the format that we'll be using. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm glad to see people dropping on. We're going to do a couple of things today that are going to become more standard to what we're doing. We'll see if we have Segal, Abdurrahman, or Commander Hallstrom from the police department. And we will have if we do, we'll have a police check-in that we used to be standard feature when we had live meetings. We're going to get back to doing that. Just a brief touch base on what's going on the east side, give you access and an opportunity to ask them some questions, build some relationship with the police department and the Eastern District. So that's part of the goal. So anyway, Commander Hallstrom was hoping he would get on today, and we'll see about that. And then we'll jump right into our topic. We've got Ross Haddow from City of St. Paul. We've got Rick Howden from from Ramsey County Rapid Response Team for Businesses. Go ahead and give us a wave there, Rick. Okay, we've got Chelsea Five from Visit St. Paul. We've got Ryan Huseby from Tongue in Cheek. And we've got all of you and your questions and your businesses and what it is you want to see happening, what you've had to change as we roll forward through COVID here. And we've also got some other folks who had kind of interest in dropping into, and you'll see one of them in our agenda as well, Steve Highland, Keller Williams Integrity Realty. When I sent this out earlier this week, Steve said, hey, realtors have just become essential workers. I'm so glad I'm finally essential. But he said, you know, I'd love to hear and talk about what that means for us as we try to do our work now in that essential worker category and the adaptations for that sector. So there's lots that we could talk about. I hope that you've come with questions and your interest in this and how we go forward with it. Let's jump right in and we'll do some introductions right now, kind of in the classic ISAPA way. If your camera is on and you are from an East Side nonprofit, give the world a wave here. There we go. We've got East Side Elders. We've got the Beloved. We've got Elaine from the Hazel Park Learning Center. I maybe haven't said it right. Katie, did I get your church right? Okay, great. If you are from a business on the East Side, give us a wave. We've got Darren. We've got Ryan. That's good. Good looking.
I can't wave, Paris, so I'm just going to talk. St. Paul Federal Credit Union, Vicki Beebe.
Hi, Vicki. That's great. We're glad that you're on the show, too. If you are from a public-private partnership and you are the St. Paul Port Authority, you can go ahead and wave, too. There's Tanya. Perfect. How about ESNDC? Andy, you're a 501c3 nonprofit. Did you wave at nonprofit time? Oh, she's waving now. Okay, there you go. All right. Well, welcome to the party, everybody. Fun we possibly can. I'm going to just show you our annual sponsors. We can thank them. Oh, but I'm disabled. Darren, will you just make me enabled for a moment? And I'll tell you all about our annual sponsors and we can roll from there. Nope. I am the host now. Thanks, Darren. Okay, here are our ISABA annual sponsors. Let's see. So we just want to say thanks to these folks: Ideal Printers, DV Creative, Harrington Langer and Associates, and State Farm. We've got some Silver Circle annual sponsors that have been fun to work with, and some on the call today. State Farm One, Cervantes, the Sonic Foundation, M Health Fairview, and Ladine Law, St. Paul Federal Credit Union. Good to have you on today, Vicki, and St. Paul Port Authority. Oh, Tanya, good to see you today. Bronze Circle sponsors are Highway Federal Credit Union, Metropolitan State University, Sunrise Banks, and Walters Recycling and Refuse. We talked a little bit about Walters last week when we processed biz recycling stuff, and excited to talk a little bit with Rick later about new grants that just came out from the City of St. Paul, grant opportunities that you all should be aware of and not miss. That's it for my screen sharing. Let's talk a little bit about where we're going today with COVID adaptations. And I really want to start with Ryan. So to put you on the spot, Ryan, and to get you all warmed up here. Helping us with this, one of the things that you said earlier in this crisis, in the spring actually, has stayed with me the whole way, man. So I'm glad to have you on the show today. In April, Ryan said, you know, looking at how we're doing right now, adapting with curbside and takeout, as we came into May, I think in the short term, we're probably going to make it. It's 6 months out that I'm really worried about. It's going long term that I'm concerned about. And so I'm glad to have you on today, Ryan, to talk a little bit about the COVID adaptations that are working at Tongue in Cheek over at Payne Avenue, and things that you have heard in your community and things you're thinking about as we move forward now into that envelope that you were worried about 4 months ago. We're now on the cusp of it. So I wanted to start with you and just say thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to come on. So back then, I believe we were doing takeout only. I think that was April when we last talked or had a last meeting. Since then, obviously, we've been able to start doing some dine-in as well at a 50% capacity, and that's helped us a lot. That's definitely increased our revenue. I think the worst week we had during the takeout era, we were down like 85% from what we would do normally in a time of week. And that's improved greatly now with takeout, or with being able to do dine-in. And our takeout business, we still do a fair amount, but it's definitely dropped way, way down. The loans and grants that were available, that we were able to take advantage of have really been a lifeline, and that has us sitting in a good position to last. That would have been about 6 months ago, I guess, now that we talked. And we're still sitting in a good position. The added revenue definitely helps from doing dine-in. The challenge, of course, is only doing it at 50% capacity. At first, when dine-in started in June, we weren't even coming close to hitting that 50% capacity. Now we hit it on a regular basis. Several times a week, we hit that 50% capacity, and occasionally have to actually turn customers away, which feels very strange when half of your tables are sitting empty, but that's how we have to do it to keep everybody safe and to be able to stay operational. You know, we don't want to contribute to the problem, so we want to make sure that we are doing everything safely, heavily sanitizing, you know, enforcing masks and social distancing, and customers have been very compliant and very, very great about it. They completely understand why we have to do it. So now that we hit 50% capacity on a somewhat regular basis, we kind of have to figure out, okay, how can we do more takeout, as that's been dwindling somewhat. So that's kind of something that we're focusing on, how to promote more takeout to supplement the dine-in. The takeout also creates some logistical issues when you're doing it at the same time as dine-in. It's kind of like when we first started doing takeout, it was kind of like opening a brand new restaurant because it was completely different menu and procedures and everything. It was a learning experience, and then we had to learn how to do both at the same time. So that's another big challenge that we've had, but I think we're getting it down and we're figuring it out. We have seen a surprising number of first-time guests coming in. Of course, a lot of our loyal customers have been coming back to see us, or at least doing takeout, but I've been surprised by how many first-timers we've had, and they seem to often find us either on social media or review sites like Google and Yelp, TripAdvisor, and that kind of thing. So that's worked really well for us. If you run a business that gets reviewed online, really encourage your customers to leave reviews for you, because that can really be a strong driver of business right now. And then, you know, we really focus on social media marketing, just letting people know what we're doing and reminding people that we're here and available. And I think moving forward, as I said, it was about 6 months ago that we talked, and I was a little nervous what 6 months would look like. And like I said, we're doing fine. So now I'd push that back another 6 months. That I'm more worried about then than now. But with concerts, sporting events, and large gatherings on hold, I think people are looking for other kinds of entertainment and experiences, and as well as other kind of small local businesses can be a good substitute for that. So just have to figure out a way to reach that audience and let them know that there are other things to do in the meantime when they can't do things that are big. And really what we focus on is making guests feel comfortable, and not just safety-wise and showing that we're following all the protocols and masking and social distancing and cleanliness and sanitation, but also trying to make it feel somewhat normal, because I think people are craving that right now. So we, even with all the weirdness, try to make them feel comfortable and feel as normal as possible, and give them an experience that's as close to what it used to be as possible.
That's great, Ryan.
Ryan,
I'm doing.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Question, Chelsea?
Yeah, can you speak a little bit about what those, you know, just those little intricacies are that give that sense of normalcy that you feel like you were missing before, or not missing before, but are doing now?
Yeah, a big part of it is just guest interaction, and conversing with them like we used to. I know when I've dined out at other restaurants during this, I haven't dined out a ton, but I've been a few places, and sometimes that seems to be what's missing, is that they're so all about the new rules that they kind of forget that it's still hospitality. So just really engaging with them and talking about the menu and just making them feel comfortable and welcome has gone a long way, as much as possible when you're wearing a mask. But yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
So, yeah, thanks, Chelsea. Great question. Ryan, have you found I want to get back to two things that you said. Also want to just welcome folks who are new onto the call, Rebecca and somebody else who jumped in from Eastside Elders. Who is that? Oh, no, Haley from Urban Roots. Hi. And Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom is also with us. So Ryan, I want to ask you another question here, but when we're ready to switch or shift, we'll go to Commander Hallstrom for a minute to do an Eastside crime update. We're going to ask you guys to also shift your attention. So if you've got a question that's in mind right now, drop it in the chat so that we make sure we don't lose it for Ryan and for this conversation when we shift over to crime stats on the east side. Ryan, I wanted to just ask you, has it been pretty easy working with your staff to actually follow these protocols? I mean, I know how hard it is for me to put on my mask and walk into a place and stand around for 15 minutes. I'm not accustomed to doing it for a 4-hour shift or 6 or 8 hour shift. How hard is it for folks to feel like that's a good work environment and that's also keeping them safe? And we've had some conversation about just also noticing whether or not mask use is being accomplished gives us a sense of confidence or a sense of lack of confidence the minute we walk in. So, that sense of our protocols being followed, has it been hard?
It's been an adjustment. I wouldn't say it's hard. I think our staff has been very much on board with it. Way back when we first started doing carryout, there was no mask mandate and there was kind of mixed information on whether you should be wearing a mask or not. But so at first we weren't wearing masks right away, and then we quickly realized that our guests expected it even if we were just bringing food out to their car. So then we required it for that reason, and then just for the difficulty with distancing in the kitchen and even in the front of the house, then we started requiring employees to wear masks at all times shortly after this all started. They're just trying to figure it out like everybody else was. As far as customers wearing masks and the staff having to enforce that, when we first started doing dine-in, there was a City of St. Paul requirement. However, it was not really enforced, and most places you went weren't requiring it. But we started pretty early on when we were doing dine-in, requiring even our guests to wear masks when they came in, and most were doing it anyway, but the ones who didn't, were maybe a little caught off guard, but not necessarily taken aback or offended by it. So it's been pretty easy, and the staff is definitely on board with it. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's also not the worst thing in the world to wear a mask for an 8-hour shift, especially as we've just kind of gotten used to it. And it really does make the customers feel safer, just seeing that you're following all the protocols and doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Thanks, Ryan. Totally makes sense. I want to just welcome folks who have joined on the call here, and go ahead and mute yourself if you are unmuted. But also want to just welcome Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom to give us a little update on the east side and where we are with crime trends, and then invite you all to ask any questions of him. But before you lose anything that you want to ask Ryan about marketing or reviews or how to up your traffic and make that happen, drop those things into the chat so that we can remember to come back to them. Also want to welcome our council member Jane Prince from Ward 6. Hi, Councilmember Prince. I'm excited that you're on the call today. Ward 7. Oh, excuse me. I was in Ward 6 because I'm over there with Ryan right now in my brain. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Remember which ward you're in? Okay. Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom, welcome to the show. For 5 minutes, we'd love to just have you turn on and tell us a little bit about what you're seeing on the east side from your perspective. So
5 minutes. I don't know if that's a lot of time or if that's not time at all. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. I recognize most of you from past conversations. I'm assuming you can hear me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
we can hear you.
I don't have video capability at my workstation, but I don't think that the crime trends have changed much from when we've spoke in the past. We're still seeing increases in the violent crime, which is unfortunate for our communities. That's a nationwide trend that is proving to be true here in the city of St. Paul. You know, obviously everybody has seen the news that, you know, we had a homicide in our neck of the woods on Monday afternoon. You know, investigation ongoing. I'm not aware of any arrests at this time, but it's not. It followed the trend of most crimes of that nature, that the suspect and the victim are known to each other. So it's not a, you know, I often say things to try to get people to feel better. It doesn't give anybody a warm fuzz in that particular situation to know that it's not a random act, but there's warm fuzzies to be felt there, I guess, which is good. You know, we continue to see, you know, increase in theft. You know, some of it probably associated with the economy and jobs and COVID and housing and other things. We've made actually some pretty good arrests for catalytic converter thefts over the last, you know, couple weeks. It's very difficult to get anywhere with those. If you all have any influence with your statewide legislatures, we'd sure appreciate that. The city council helped us out by, you know, passing an ordinance that recyclers can't take those without getting ID and where they got them and all the stuff that goes with it. But all they got to do is go to Minneapolis or go up to Roseville to sell these, and they can get, I'm told, $500-600 a piece for them. But that would be, you know, something that we could probably look at to try to solve this problem statewide instead of just being a city. So catalytic converters remain to be an area that causes us to scratch our heads trying to figure out how we can better address that type of action. And it takes no time at all for them to cut those things off and steal them. As much as I like my cordless tools, I mean, everything comes with a battery and it's cordless and it's fast and it's powerful and it lasts a long time. That's why we're also seeing so many catalytic converter thefts, because they go under there with the grinder, cut off wheel, and 30 seconds they're gone, moved on to the next one. The mayor's office is hosting a unsheltered community style Zoom meeting next week. I hope you've been invited to that. If not, let me know and I can get you that invite. It's something that I know it's has been an area of concern, and every time I have opportunity to talk in front of the unsheltered work group, I stress them. You know, it's not that the East Side community feels that we need to move these people on and they can't be here and they're not welcome in our community. I usually try to tell them it's almost the exact opposite. They just want to know what the plan is, and I'm hoping that next week we'll communicate that plan better to the community. You know, the police department has we've put a lot of effort into trying to distance ourselves from the unsheltered dilemma, or I don't want to call it a problem, but it's something we need to fix as a society and a community. But it's the mayor's office has taken the lead on that, and DSI, and you know, it's an area of contention for a lot of people in the community. So if you need information on that, let me know. Councilmember Prince will probably also speak of that meeting. That's about all I have. We had I'm sure if you read the paper, the police department had a significant spike in COVID cases, and I was one of the unfortunate ones to catch it. Recovering. I'm symptom-free now I'm back to work. Nasty bug. I feel very fortunate that it wasn't worse than what it was, but it still sucked. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but that's
wow,
scary.
Yeah, for sure, Senior Commander. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're on the mend. It looks like we've got a couple of questions for you. So, Tanya?
I just wanted to pipe in because my keyboard isn't working on my computer, so I can't type in my question.
Okay.
My question is, you know, we're a good, you know, over a month into the school year, and I'm just curious, you know, with the new distance learning environments, how has crime been amongst, what are we seeing amongst our youth? Has there been a significant uptick in that, or how has the new learning environment impacted perhaps what may or may not be happening on the east side? Or just curious on if you're seeing, if your department's seeing significant uptick in that particular demographic.
Really good, solid question. We've made a lot of moves with the juvenile justice side of things. We've actually, moved the juvenile investigation responsibilities to the units that would, so if it was a burglary, normally juvenile would have handled that. The juvenile unit would have handled that. That's a bad one because they didn't do that. Auto theft, for example. If it was an auto theft and it was a juvenile auto thief, that the juvenile unit would process that case and then send to the attorneys. Now, the unit that is primarily responsible for the investigation of that crime takes it, whether it's a juvenile or an adult. So we've experienced some hiccups along the roads there, but that seems to be moving along. I've said several times we need to get the kids back into school because they're bored and they have way too much time on their hands. We have seen some significant upticks in juvenile crimes that, I don't know that they would have been here with or without COVID. We don't know what we know, but I do worry that we're losing a couple generations of a year's worth of kids that aren't getting the support and the things that they need at home because they struggled before. I can imagine that distance learning is helping them achieve more than they could when they were in person. So, do I have the scientific proof and the numbers to support that? Nope. That's just 20 years of doing the job and seeing the kids and watching trends go. Usually we could see, if you work in the school, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The kids will get a little rambunctious over, when they know there's a long holiday weekend coming. They'll get ramped up from stress of having to feed themselves over the weekend. Or as spring break approaches, it'll get kind of kooky, and then spring break will come and go. And then we also saw, through the course of the summer, a traditional summer goes, the kids are, wild, and then spring or summer vacation starts, and then things kind of calm down for a little while, and then kids get more time, and then they get bored, and then things kind of start to tick up towards September or August to September, and then everybody goes back to school, and then it kind of mellows out again a little bit. So there's an ebb and flow to juvenile crimes, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
And out the window.
Wow. So you have seen an uptick in juvenile activity, even though they're supposed to be attached to their computer. I mean, we all know how much fun it is to sit in front of your computer for hours every day.
Well, we're seeing younger and younger kids committing more violent type crimes and things that we probably wouldn't, you wouldn't think of a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old to be an auto thief, but we've seen some of those this summer. So wow. It's a problem that we're not going to run our way out of, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question, Tanya. Other questions for Commander Hallstrom before we jump back on? And then Councilmember Prince has got to get off here in a minute. Did you want to make an announcement, Councilmember?
I don't have any announcements to make, but wait a minute. I do have an announcement, a very quick one, and it's not final yet, so everybody keep this under your hat. But it does look like the House passed a bonding bill that includes the Kellogg Bridge. And we knew that we are quite sure that it's in the Senate bill, and we have been led to believe that the Senate is ready to pass the bonding bill. And on another note, there's some money in there for housing infrastructure bonds. And this is really good news given that we've been trying to get the Kellogg Bridge done, which, as you all know, is a vital link to the east side from the rest of the city. That's been on our bonding bill for our bonding requests for well over 5 or 6 years. So anyway, that is really good and big news, and thanks to our legislative delegation for their hard work to bring that through. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have about things that are going on. I'm so grateful to Commander Hallstrom for how responsive he is as we are seeing this uptick in random and violent crime, which is really hard for all of us to be dealing with. And he has done an exceptional job of making himself available to follow up in neighborhoods where there's a lot of stress and tension about this. And I couldn't be more grateful. And then, of course, I'm certainly proud of our business community and the work that ISABA is doing to have these amazing meetings on Thursday afternoons. And I regret that I have to leave this one, but I can probably stay on about another 5 minutes, but definitely feel free to email me any questions. I'll put my email and number in the chat function.
Perfect. Yes, email in the chat. Commander Hallstrom, if you'll put your contact details in the chat too. Just to confirm, Council Member and Commander, the meeting you were talking about unsheltered, unhoused, is that the one that's happening in Payne Phelan District 5 on Wednesday? Is that the one that you had in sight there, Commander and Council Member?
Give me a second. I got to pull my calendar up here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the one that Payne Phelan is hosting.
Right.
With all the, with the deputy mayor and the county manager.
Got it. Oh, Jane, Councilmember, you muted yourself.
I just want to say on the unsheltered homeless issue that I honestly have not seen over the years a partnership at such a high level in the city and county to deal with anything. The deputy mayor and county manager Ryan O'Connor are in daily contact working with their staffs to address the unsheltered homeless issue. And I know that it's a huge problem, and there is a true commitment on the part of the city and the county to get people indoors as soon as we can. And obviously the bad news on the closing of Bethesda Hospital has a bright side because we will be able to use that for important shelter space. I believe it's about 100 beds. And the county is preparing to lease that from M Health Fairview to try to get our unsheltered indoors before the snow flies.
Great. Councilmember, thank you so much. I think one of the questions that we have left from last week was about who should businesses call if they're having an issue? And Commander Hallstrom, maybe you could help us sort this out. Is there a number that we should be calling to, as you said, you've been trying not to get as involved maybe as the police department with this issue. If there's things happening on the ground, are there ways that businesses should respond? And is there a number we should call?
It depends upon the situation in which you're concerned about. So if it's private property, so if it's your own personal property owned by the business, you have the right to trespass people and tell them that they can't stay there. In that particular situation, you would call us, and we'll come out and obviously we're going to try to negotiate. Tell them that with you basically at our shoulder that this private property you're not admitted to stay here. The business or the owner of the property wants you to leave. If it's public property, that's where we run into the problems that we're facing right now. That with COVID and governor's orders and all these things, they've basically said a jurisdiction that doesn't have verifiable documentation of disorder and crime and life safety issues, we have to let stay. And that's a big mountain to climb, so to speak, to document and demonstrate that all of these things are a life safety hazard. So it's sanitary conditions and things like that. So, I don't want to say that I don't know what the future holds, but so far compared to what's been going on downtown, we in the Eastern District have, as a community have, I think, done fairly well. Yeah. Is it great? There's 15 tents along Phelan Boulevard and Phelan Drive, by the lake where people want to walk their dogs and things. In an ideal world, all of those people would have a place to sleep at night, right? Other than a tent in the middle park. But we don't have that many things that make go, yeah, that tent's got that location's got to go. So that's good. I mean, if we're really looking at how it's impacting our community, I think we've done a good job of taking them in stride. So if it's your own personal property, 911 or 291-1111, and we'll come out and we'll, like we're going to come and just throw all their stuff in the garbage and take them off to jail. We're going to negotiate with them, and you might ask, can we have another day or 2 days with the business owner, and we'll try to get some outreach, and we'll try to get, services out there to try to get them to voluntarily go someplace else instead of just, making a move on right now. So we're working with Hmong Village right now. They have I'm trying to figure out if it's city property or if it's Hmong Village property. So then we can determine a course of action moving forward. So
great.
Very complex.
If I could just jump in here, and I appreciate the commanders saying that if it's a direct issue for your business and any kind of a threat, you call the police. If it's a matter of reporting a tent on public property that hasn't been there before, or a new encampment that you see, use the DSI line 266-8989, because DSI is the official maintainer of all the data pertaining to the encampments. They are sending inspectors out. The inspectors are coordinating with social service agencies. They're meeting people in the encampments. They're getting names and making referrals to Radius Health and People Incorporated. So DSI is where it's at, and call 8989, 266-8989, and never hesitate to call my office if you feel like you're not getting a response or it doesn't seem like anybody paid any attention to the fact that you called that number. I think they do a really good job of trying to respond to all the calls that come in at that number, but I'm certainly happy to help follow up on anything that you're not getting answers on.
Councilmember and Senior Commander, thank you so much. And that's a fantastic distinction, I think, for us. If you're concerned about people and about an encampment, you're calling DSI. If there's a physical risk, or if there's a threat that's imminent, or you need some help from the police, call the police. That totally makes sense. So thank you for that distinction. So that Payne Phelan meeting, I put the link to in the chat. So take a look at that. That's happening next week. On Wednesday. I intend to be there, and we'll have some conversation about this at our next Eastside Connect next week on Thursday. We'll do a little summary on this issue as a part of unrest, unsheltered, preparing for the unpreparable is kind of where we're going with next week's show. That was just an advertisement for next week. Okay, back to this week. Thanks again, Commander, Senior Commander, and Councilmember Prince. Ryan, I want to follow up with one question to you that's a segue toward Chelsea as well. You said one of the things that's challenging for you that you're working on adapting to now is figuring out how you market to a new group that's looking for something different to do when they can't get it from the circus. So you can't get it in big events, you got to get it in small doses. How do we help Tongue-in-Cheek and our other business members market that? Thoughts about that? And then we're going to shift over to the marketing person down there in that lower corner. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, well, I can offer a couple examples of what we do. We offer a date night special where it's, 2 drinks or a bottle of wine, an appetizer, 2 entrees, and a dessert for a reasonably good price. And it's also still profitable for us, and it's something that we can get out to them in a fairly quick amount of time, because obviously, we try to limit our tables to an hour and a half when we're busy, because if we don't turn them, we're never going to have a chance of making any money. So it's something that's efficient and profitable for us and unique and fun for guests. And we also do something that can take a little longer, a 5-course tasting menu, which comes with a nice price tag for us, but is also a really neat kind of, I guess, a throwback to when you could go out to really nice restaurants, but we do it in a more casual way and just, that level of stuff, but in a more casual kind of way. So those are a couple things that we do. We also offer the date night for takeout, which during the takeout era was very popular. People could come and get everything they need for a date night at home. And so those are 2 things that we do. I don't know, you just, depending on what your business is, you just kind of have to get creative and find something that maybe other places aren't doing that's unique and will catch people's attention. And then communicate, email lists, social media, that kind of thing. People's attention span tends to be very short with everything going on in the world and constantly being inundated with social media stuff. So if you feel like you're being repetitive or doing it too much, I'd say you're probably not, because people's attention spans are short. You got to keep putting yourself at the top of their mind.
That totally makes sense, Ryan. Thanks for that. I also think people's attention for sitting in a place is fairly limited too. We've talked about exposure and aerosolized exposure being one of those things people are concerned about. Like, you don't want to go and sit someplace for 2 hours. You want to go and sit someplace actually, I don't want to go and sit anywhere. That's why I continue to office here at the Witness Protection Program. But I wonder, you're finding people come in and they want to be a part of that and they want to connect. So there must be some confidence that their exposure risk is low. And I'm getting the sense that, yeah, you've helped to kind of do that by showing them, hey, we're wearing the masks properly. We're turning things pretty quickly. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I like to think that, just the fact that people can see that we're doing things the right way makes them feel more comfortable. I hope that's the case. But whatever it is, we've definitely seen people be more comfortable sitting inside and dining inside. And I can't say exactly why that is. It's certainly not because the case numbers are going down, because that's the opposite is true, which is also, a little bit of a nerve-wracking thing for us, because we're not only potentially exposing our customers, but also ourselves, our staff. But that's why we strictly follow all the protocols and safety measures, and it seems hopefully to be working so far.
Great, thanks Ryan so much. Shifting a little bit, but not too much, Chelsea, because this is right in the wheelhouse of what you guys put together with Ready Together, the Ready Together pledge, and encouraging folks to really get out there and follow the rules in a good way to help folks stay safe. What are the kinds of responses that you're seeing and the kinds of things you'd like to say here?
Yeah, I would say that we've been seeing good responses. So I want to share what the Ready Together pledge is before I kind of dig into how it's being used and how we're using it to market. So Darren, if you could make me, oh, I got it, perfect. Thank you. Okay, I hope this works. It's going to be a video, so bear with me. Can you see my screen? Okay, here we go.
As St. Paul continues to reopen amid COVID-19, safety remains a top concern.
That's why local shops, restaurants, hotels, attractions, and other businesses are collaborating on a commitment to cleanliness and safety.
The Ready Together pledge is a commitment to following best practices put forth by the CDC along with executive orders from Governor Walz and Mayor Carter. And we want your business to join.
Together, we'll build even more confidence among residents and visitors that St. Paul is doing all of the right things.
We're also asking our guests and patrons to do the same in making everyone safe.
To make your commitment to the Ready Together pledge, go to visitstpaul.com/readytogether.
Okay, so can you still see my screen? Can you see this webpage? Okay, perfect. So yeah, basically the Ready Together pledge is something that we put together in partnership with other community organizations, and it was really done in an effort to start to be able to invite new customers back to St. Paul as people are getting ready to kind of move around again as they're comfortable. So basically the pledge is just a really short commitment form. Down here you can see some of the businesses that have already signed on board. So we have about 200 businesses on so far, and we're looking to grow that. It's free for any business to sign on. So if you are a business on this call or any type of organization that wants your name to be on this list, it's free to do so. You get a window cling and a poster, and then a list of some marketing assets, or a link to a web page with marketing assets that you can use to communicate your commitment. So I will share links to all of this in the chat. Here's just an example of, here's an example of the form. It's just really short and just basically says everything that Ryan was saying. You know, here's the things that we pledged to do. Here's the things that we're asking our guests to do. You fill it out and that's about it. So it's super quick and painless. And then, so this webpage that has all of these businesses signed on, we're using this for a couple of reasons. We're using it to market like locally through our social media channels that, you know, St. Paul is open and safe and taking all the right precautions. And then we also have been running a digital marketing campaign called Right Now It's All Yours. And so this is being marketed to 3 different personas, basically moms, outdoor folks, people that are looking to get outdoors, as well as urban explorers. And so part of the It's All Yours campaign, it's in like a 120-mile radius. So they're getting fed, you know, Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And then we have some Spotify ads that they're getting fed. And each of these personas, if they were to click on these ads that they're receiving, they get dropped onto a landing page on our website that has information specified to the type of persona that they are. And then part of that is the Ready Together pledge. So they can click on that and see that St. Paul is safe and open and ready to accept visitors. So those are 3 of the really big things that I also wanted to share. I think, Ryan, you're the only restaurant on here today, but part of this whole initiative to get businesses ready for, or restaurants specifically, ready for winter is a new event. We are just going to start marketing it today, but it's called Designing the Future of Restaurants, a virtual roundtable. And I'll share a link for this as well. But we partnered with NCXT, Jonathan Banks, who is running the St. Paul Restaurant Resiliency Project. And so we're partnering with him on this event, but it's going to be an opportunity for restaurateurs to come together and just talk about challenges that they're going to be, that we're all going to be approaching and how we can maybe collaborate or overcome those. Yeah, so we're hoping for that to be very successful, but I will share a link to all of these resources and hope to have you guys there or sharing this information if you're able.
Hey, Chelsea, I would love to see that event on the ASABA website. Will you submit that so that we can have it on our event? I was just thinking, like, what are the ways we should be talking about what Tongue in Cheek is doing on our ASABA channels as well and promoting what's going on? And certainly for all of our restaurant members, I want to direct them to that conversation.
And I mean, we don't have the answers either. It's like, how do we continue to promote retail and restaurants as we go into winter and best support them? And so, yeah, we're just throwing things at the wall and kind of seeing what sticks right now and collecting information. But hopefully this event will hopefully generate some ideas from our restaurant partners and yeah, point out what we can clearly do to help support them.
Ryan, is that an engaging idea, getting together with other restaurants to talk about it? You feel like you've got support in that domain already?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'd definitely be interested to participate or, you know, be involved in that somehow. I think it's a great idea just to brainstorm. I mean, I talk to other restaurant owners sometimes, but not in any kind of formal or set way.
Yeah, it would be great to have you there. I made some notes already on some things that you were saying. I think there's going to be a lot of hopefully ideas generated from this type of event, as well as opportunities for you all to come together and talk and collaborate and brainstorm. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chelsea. I'm going to switch over to Ross, but I'm also just going to ask those of you who are on the call, drop something in the chat that you'd like to see at your favorite place of business. If there's something that you've seen and you're just like, gosh, I wish this had gone differently, or I wish this were done according to the pledge, or, you know, the pledge doesn't go far enough in this way. All of those things, drop that kind of comment in the chat. I think we've all had experiences where we're like, wow, I wish that had been different. I want to ask Ross to talk a little bit about how the city's preparing for winter. You know, I hope you're going to put in a couple more snowplows on my street. But anyway, I'm not asking you to commit to that at this particular.
Well, I'm just going to say that I have nothing to do with public works and plowing, so kind of on your own there.
I figured that was what you're going to say, Ross. Okay, but tell us a little bit about how the city and DSI are helping us get ready for these kinds of conversations, or what you're seeing, questions you're getting from businesses that are trying to adapt.
Well, as a lot of you know, we did the temporary C-19 expansion, which allowed restaurants to expand out onto either private property or public right-of-way with very little need for information. It was a simple application, a floor plan, and basically telling us you have permission to use it and you have insurance to cover it. And that allowed us to expand it. And we were able to expand quite a few restaurants that way. That was done under executive order. The tentative idea is that the executive order that affect those will last hopefully for at least another 3 or 4 months. They're talking about expanding that out there. I've got a couple of businesses that are committed to putting tents and heaters outside to try and keep patio season alive for, in a perfect world, all winter long, depending on what the weather is. So we are working with that. I'd love to say that I've got some really great ideas that the city's rolling out, but I don't. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to work with anybody who's got any idea. So I encourage any business that's got an idea that they're not sure they can do, come talk to me. We're talking about suspending certain ordinances in certain areas that would help businesses along. I'm working hand in hand with quite a few businesses, just trying to help them hang on for as long as possible. So we're here for whatever, I don't care how crazy the idea is. Come talk to me about it. Let's see if we can make it work.
Nice, Ross. And I think that that's I just want everybody to recognize for a second that that is a different St. Paul than we're usually familiar with. That that's the St. Paul we all want. Even, right, Ann? That's the St. Paul that we want. Come talk to me. Let's see if we can get to a yes. Ross, yeah. I mean, we're dancing over here. Those of us who work with businesses.
This is exactly what we want. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no idea is too crazy. Let's see what we can work. We're in a different time. The old rules don't apply anymore.
Yeah.
We are still tied by ordinances and legislation and whatnot, but I'm getting really good at figuring out where to find my answers and how to make.
We lost you for just a second there, Ross.
Talk to me. Talk to the people in planning and economic. Oh,
that's
I
great.
apologize,
So,
Ryan.
Ross,
It's kind of been. You there?
Yeah. We're losing. You're skipping a little bit, but I want you to put your contact information in the chat.
Yeah,
we
most definitely.
Connecting
And
people directly to you.
yes, come directly to me and let's talk and have a conversation and see what we can do for you.
That's great. Totally great. We've seen a couple of things roll out even just this week. New grants coming from the city of St. Paul that are trying to help, especially music venues and theaters, who, you know, folks who still haven't kind of figured out, in 50% capacity. Again, I'm not interested in going to watch something for an hour and a half, whether it's 50% capacity or not. I'm not the kind of consumer that, you know, I want to be right now. But I know the city has rolled out some new things like that. And I want to switch to Rick for just a second and see if Rick is hearing anything at the county level for businesses that are working on those new things that I just found out about earlier this week that the city has put together.
Yeah, not a ton, but yeah, I wanted to make sure that you saw that and that we could share those programs with the group here. I think the other thing, as we continue to work through our Small Business Relief Fund program and finalizing some spending at the county level for our CARES Act as we approach the end of the year, I'm really curious and haven't gotten as much feedback from businesses, but what are the needs that businesses have out there? are there PPE needs that folks need, or really curious if, like, Ryan, what are you looking at for the winter, or what is something that would help you, continue operations and be successful throughout the winter? I'm not sure that we have enough money to do another grant round. And with competing grant programs at multiple levels, it gets very complicated not to duplicate. But, are there forehead thermometers or signs, vinyl signs on the floor markings or whatnot? Just really curious what businesses need and where they are at in order to continue operations as we look at being able to distribute some or utilize some of our remaining CARES Act dollars at the county. So I wanted to bring that up. And then I also wanted to share, I'll put a link up there, but the county has some food service contracting opportunities, and also might be a way for even some restaurants to help fill their needs or keep their staffs busy if needed. I know Afro Deli was an early recipient of this contract with the county, but helps deliver meals to folks in need, and might be a way that folks can keep things going and keep folks working. So wanted to share that opportunity. And last week I unfortunately missed, but the Biz Recycling relief grant opportunities that our partners are promoting as well. I'm glad that they were able to share that with you all. Yeah, don't have a ton of specific updates, but would love any feedback as we really march forward to spend down our CARES Act dollars and help meet the needs of the business community.
Nice, thanks, Rick. Yeah, there are a couple of rounds of relief out there, but also just wanted to engage and say, yeah, PPE and hand sanitizer. I understand that there's some hand sanitizer over there on Payne Avenue. It's not just on the avenue. But are those things that restaurants and nonprofits need access to right now to help serve the folks you've got coming in your door? Something that you're seeing, or does the support that you need something very different? Thoughts, restaurants, businesses, or nonprofits that are on the call? Go ahead.
I would say, I mean, we've had access to free hand sanitizer enough to get us through, and I think we still have a good amount left, but not an infinite amount. So that's certainly something that could be useful. Masks, we keep a stash of masks around for employees who would prefer to use disposable ones, and for guests who forget them. We don't go through a ton of them, but that's an expense that we have to replace every once in a while. Other than that, I mean, we're pretty well, we've made our own signage. We would mind having other, I guess, more durable signage. We just kind of print ours off on our printer. So that, that could be something that's useful as far as social distancing and mask requirements. Other than that, it's really a matter of getting as much business as we can safely. So I'm not sure what the county can help us with as far as that goes.
Ryan, like you said, things have evolved and changed since this thing first started. We weren't sure about contact on surfaces. We weren't sure about contact on food. We weren't sure about, what was kind of exposing us to this. And as you pointed out, it's not like our case numbers are going down right now. But I think we have learned some things. We've learned some things about the veracity of that's not the right word exactly, but how long the virus lasts on surfaces and whether or not we should be ultra concerned about that. I think we've learned that food is not a problem. And I think maybe, if I think I'm right about that, anyone could help kind of clarify, like some strong messages about what we have learned, maybe a way to help folks know what they can do safely. And we have learned, and this was not clear in the beginning, that wearing your mask in a proper way actually does help. It helps protect other people. And therefore we should do it. So we have learned some things, and I wonder if coming forward with the things that we know would help us also promote things that people could do to drive that business your way.
Yeah, I think so. It maybe seems like a weird thing for us ourselves to promote, but I think that is, maybe there is confusion out there about stuff like that. And it, at least from what the Department of Health says, it doesn't seem like food itself is a high risk kind of thing.
Right.
So as long as we just are sure to sanitize our surfaces that people touch and things like that. But I think, yeah, getting that information out there is helpful. And I don't know who it is most believable coming from, but I'm not sure it's most believable or effective coming from the restaurant itself.
Right. Good point. I'm curious to hear from, Anne. I'm curious to hear from Anne. I think if it came from Anne, then it would be believable. Let's try it, Anne. What do you?
No, it's not a solution. It's not responding to what Ryan just spoke about. But I have a question for anybody that's on this call. I just received a phone call from a small business on the west side that hasn't received any help, but she didn't apply because she didn't have her taxes done. And she finally has everything caught up and is wondering, is there anything open still out there? County, city, state, anything that she can apply for right now? Because I tried to work with her earlier, but she didn't have the documents to download. To say, not that I'm aware of. So anybody know any
Rick,
help?
Rick, what do you know?
Yeah, unfortunately at this time, our grant program is closed. And there are a couple of cities outside of St. Paul that are running CARES Act programs, but inside the city of St. Paul, aside from the new programs just launched yesterday aimed at food halls, music venues, and support organizations, I don't know of any program that's open right now for applications, unfortunately.
So, Anne, the biz recycling option might be one that she could take advantage of, depending on the kinds of expenses that she's got for solid waste. That one's opened up so much more broadly than biz recycling ever has in the past. But, you know, it wouldn't be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Has she looked at that?
It's a clothing store, so that really doesn't impact her as much as it would a restaurant.
Right.
And has she reached out or tried, St. Paul Chamber has the We Love St. Paul and the We Love Midway Fund. I know some of that is geared towards, the repercussions of civil unrest, but they are also taking in applications for those who are impacted by COVID. So I think that would be a good option that she may want to check out, is that We Love St. Paul Fund through SPAC.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm.
All right, we are at our 3:30 mark here. Just want to give kind of a final nod to our nonprofit members who've been listening in, and Haley, especially, just want to say welcome to you from Urban Roots, new executive director there. Katie, to say hi again, and Rebecca Nelson, who has completely vacated her position of the East Side Food Queen there. I mean, all I see is curtains right now, Rebecca. She's just like, it's over. But like, this has been an incredibly challenging year for nonprofits. I'm just curious about your COVID adaptations, especially Urban Roots, when you couldn't do the kind of gardening and the kind of youth support that you wanted to do this year.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because we've actually been operating as thanks so much, Katie. We actually have been operating this year. We have taken on more interns than ever before. So we serve 76 young people this year on the East Side in paid job training internships. The bulk of them were on virtual. We were the only partner for City of St. Paul Right Track who chose a virtual program that we were able to do. And then the rest of them we did on site through a very modest build out of a small cooking lab upstairs in First Lutheran in the building that we're in. And then we did smaller work crews outdoors for conservation and garden. And we were able to receive some like emergency grant funding as well to hire some extra farm hands to help out. And we have actually produced more food this year, I think, than we have ever done in the past. And we expanded our community garden programs. This has actually been a really productive summer and year for us, and we're kind of wrapping garden season now. It is also our annual event tonight. So our fundraiser is on the ESAWA calendar. So if you want to join us, we have some really fun guests. It's free to watch. It's Samin Nosrat from Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, Chef Yia Vang, Winona LaDuke. So,
I know, what the heck? You have this great lineup.
It's gonna be really fun. 6:30 tonight on Facebook Live.
Totally great lineup. Anybody else have an announcement to go out on? That's great, Haley. Yeah, I saw that on our not your garden variety garden show coming up tonight. A totally great lineup. Anybody else have an announcement? Rebecca, are you just waving at me, or are you?
Yeah, hi, Ryan. Hi. No, I have an announcement. We have another fundraiser coming up also, Eastside Elders.
Fun.
This one is called Chill Out with Eastside Elders. And guess what it involves?
I hope it involves ice cream.
Oh, that's a good thought. However, it's chilly. So it's similar to our baked potato fundraiser. We'll be rolling it out in about 2 weeks. Same thing online, drive up. It'll be a little bit simpler this time. We have a mild vegan chili, and then we'll have a mild beef chili, and cornbread, and then water. So make sure you order. And I think that's
Send that to the Asaba calendar so I can promote it.
I will for sure. Thank you.
And then we'll also just follow up with some things that we need from today's meeting. You'll see those in our newsletter coming up. Okay. I'm feeling like this was pretty productive. Thanks so much for being on the show. I want to thank Chelsea and Ross and Rick and Ryan. I joked with Chelsea that all we need to do is change our names to something with an R and we can have an all R show. But anyway, next time, the Ryan, Ross, Rick, I don't know what Chelsea wants to be called, and Rasputin show will be bringing you something exciting for sure. Anyway, thanks for being a part of it. Next week, we're going to go ahead and have Predicting the Unpredictable, Preparing for the Unpreparable with civil unrest, what we've learned, what businesses learned this last round, and what we need to be prepared for coming forward. And we'll have an update on the sheltered, unsheltered conversation that will have happened the night before. Good luck with your fundraisers and good things going on the east side, and we'll see you in the next round. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Paris. Bye-bye.